In a move that has sent shockwaves through Washington and across the nation, former President Donald Trump has issued a sweeping set of pardons targeting key figures in his post-2020 election efforts. Among the 77 individuals granted full, complete, and unconditional clemency is Rudy Giuliani, Trump's disbarred personal lawyer and a central figure in the campaign's claims of widespread voter fraud. The pardons, which also include prominent allies such as Mark Meadows, John Eastman, and Sidney Powell, effectively shield these individuals from any potential federal prosecutions related to their actions following the 2020 election. While largely symbolic, none of those listed have pending federal charges. The declaration signals a bold attempt to codify legal protections for those closely involved in Trump's efforts to challenge the certification of Joe Biden's victory. The pardons come in the form of a document posted by Ed Martin, known as Trump's clemency czar, who oversees the administration of such executive powers. The proclamation frames the action as a correction of a grave national injustice following the 2020 presidential election, and emphasizes the ongoing process of national reconciliation. Significantly, the document explicitly excludes Donald Trump himself, a move that highlights the enduring debate over whether a president can pardon themselves. The pardons also extend to individuals who participated in the fake elector scheme, a coordinated effort to submit false certifications in battleground states to pressure then Vice President Mike Pence into overturning the election results, an effort that culminated in the deadly January 6th Capitol attack. Those receiving clemency include individuals who were central to the Trump campaign's legal strategies aimed at invalidating or overturning the election results. John Eastman, accused of drafting the legal framework for subverting the certification process, and Sidney Powell, who promoted unfounded claims of voter fraud, are both included. Rudy Giuliani, whose high-profile campaign to challenge the results garnered nationwide attention, is also protected by the pardon. Jack Smith, the former special counsel, had previously identified these figures as co-conspirators in Trump's alleged attempts to subvert the election. While no federal charges were ultimately filed, these pardons now prevent future administrations from pursuing potential criminal cases at the federal level, reinforcing a protective shield around Trump's inner circle. The pardons are not without controversy, as they touch upon events that shook the foundations of American democracy. On January 6, 2021, supporters of Trump stormed the U.S. Capitol after the vice president refused to overturn the election. The attack resulted in 5 deaths, injuries to over 140 police officers, and millions of dollars in damage. Many of those involved in organizing post-election legal strategies and fake elector schemes were also charged in state-level investigations across Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin, and Nevada. It's important to note, however, that the presidential pardon power does not extend to state crimes, meaning that some individuals on the list may still face state prosecutions. This limitation underscores the complex interplay between federal authority and state judicial processes in the ongoing post-election legal landscape. The political ramifications of Trump's mass pardons are significant and far-reaching. By shielding key allies from potential federal prosecution, Trump is effectively rewriting the legal landscape for those involved in post-election activities. While these pardons do not extend to state-level charges, they signal to supporters and political allies that loyalty may carry long-term protection. Legal experts argue that this unprecedented move could set a precedent for future administrations, where pardons may be used not merely as acts of mercy, but as tools to consolidate influence and protect political operatives. Critics contend that such broad clemency risks undermining the accountability mechanisms that are central to the rule of law in a democratic society. The inclusion of individuals like Mark Meadows, former White House Chief of Staff, highlights the extent to which Trump's pardon strategy encompasses both legal and political figures. Meadows, along with Giuliani, Eastman, and Powell, were deeply involved in efforts to challenge and overturn the certified results of the 2020 election. By preemptively shielding these figures, Trump is also complicating ongoing investigations and potential prosecutions, including those in states that have actively pursued legal action related to voter fraud claims or the fake elector schemes. The pardons serve as both a political statement and a protective measure, reflecting the continued polarization surrounding the events of 2020 and their aftermath. The timing of the pardons coincides with broader governmental developments, including a procedural vote in the Senate to address the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. The vote, which passed 60-40, reinstates short-term funding to federal agencies and comes as a critical step to restore operations affected by the 40-day shutdown. Millions of federal workers had been sidelined, travel faced major disruptions, and critical aid programs were delayed. Trump's clemency announcements, issued during this period of political and administrative tension, underscore the continuing interplay between high-stakes policy, governance, and the enduring influence of former officials in shaping national discourse. Public reaction to the pardons has been swift and polarized. Supporters praise Trump for protecting loyal allies who they argue were unfairly targeted for political reasons, framing the pardons as acts of justice. Critics, however, contend that the pardons erode the principles of accountability and may embolden future attempts to subvert democratic processes. Analysts note that while federal pardons prevent prosecutions at that level, they do not erase the broader societal and political consequences of the actions taken in the aftermath of the 2020 election. The move is likely to dominate headlines, legal debates, and political discourse for months, serving as a flashpoint in ongoing discussions about presidential power. From a legal perspective, the pardons raise questions about the limits of executive clemency and the protections it affords. By extending clemency to individuals involved in complex, politically charged scenarios, the line between justice and partisanship becomes increasingly blurred. While Trump cannot pardon himself, the document emphasizes a narrative of correcting a grave national injustice, framing the clemency as both a symbolic and practical measure. Legal scholars suggest that the long-term implications could influence how future presidents wield the pardon power, potentially reshaping the norms surrounding accountability for political operatives and allies.